Hello, and welcome back to Cardano Coin, where we bring you the most recent and intriguing ADA news. We're giving away 1,000 ADA to those who are watching. All you have to do is upvote, subscribe, comment Cardano is king, and watch the video to the end to be eligible. The winners will be picked next month and publicized on the community page of the channel. Alright, so everybody's been talking and asking about Cardano. There's a lot happening out there. Charles is making some moves. We'll try to break all that down for you today. My name is Paul Bear. Welcome back to the Tech Path. Make sure to stick around toward the end of the video. We will have some Cardano sentiment for you. And we'll take a look at a little bit of the trading trends on Cardano as well. So stick around for that. If you're new to our channel, maybe you're starting to dive into Solana Cardano. Some of the all coins that are out there may be looking at a play for the next run. Make sure and subscribe because this is the first thing that will help you on one or your crypto journey. But more importantly, to help you get notifications and things like that when we do live streams and all that good stuff, I want to thank our sponsor today, and that is Ocean Crawler. Now, Ocean Crawler, if you guys don't know, I'm a big watch fan, a fan theme, I should say, and Ocean Crawler came to Houston and said, hey, let's do a partnership. The reason I said yes to this one was because I liked them. I actually have an Ocean Crawler. I'm a big dive watch fan. So if you guys are interested, we have a pretty good discount on this that we have available for our audience. You just use our code in the description below. But the one that I like is what I call the Bitcoin Watch, which is the one right there on the top right, which is their Ocean Quad Crawler Wavemaker V2 in the orange version. This one right now is pretty much sold out. So you got to get it on pre-order, but I would check it out. I don't know if you guys are into watches like me, but this one goes into a ton of cool features, including a helium release valve. If you guys are into watches, you want something that's got a sapphire crystal, you want something that's fully automatic, and you want something that is dive ready. Now, the big question on watches, this is fun because I should do watch channel. I love watches. Just don't get a case diameter that's too large. A lot of people will get those super huge blows or something like that. Don't do that. You want to get one that is in at 42 to 43 for a dive watch. And this one comes in at 43.2 millimeters. So you got a cool feature there, goes down to 600 meters to that's 2,000 feet. So if you're a diver, and even if you're not and you do desk diving, take a look, use our link below. All right, let's get into Cardano. And everybody has been asking about Cardano. Now, there's a lot of things happening around Cardano, go back to a little bit of history. And some of the history that has been in Cardano is what to expect around the action in 2023. Now, there's a lot within the Cardano community that would say, hey, we think that 2023 is going to be one of the best opportunities for us. If you look at this story right here from Kronos community, long-term investors, what they can expect in 2023. There was a few things that they kind of pointed in on. Let me kind of focus in on a couple of things. And you'll notice that Cardano is still trading at around 30 cents. So that's 1090s off, I guess, of what it was at when it was up around $3. But it is now trading at around time 10.7 billion in terms of its market cap. It may not remain down here, in this position. I think that the good thing is that there's enough interest in this from the community that we may see a little bit of price action. Now, granted, Cardano may have a little bit better movement than Solana in 2023, unless we see some sort of issue that starts to come out for Cardano itself. But this is why the community is optimistic. They think that basically there's an opportunity here around not only exposure, but new partnerships. It's also going to enter its much anticipated fifth era next year, which is called Voltaire. This is going to provide some new final pieces required for the network to become self-sustaining system. Now, if you let me go to this IOK post, because they talked about Chapter 5, Altair, Self-Sustainable Governance, carve out a community with the ability to decide on the network development updates, technical improvements, and project funding included, all that available. And they think this is coming in next year, so that I think alone could give us a little bit of upside for Cardano in short periods of time. I think macro still is going to be the big factor here. That's going to continue to push, Cardano and other altcoins down during the remainder of this bull run. There will be small little runs, and I'll show you an example of that when we go to the chart a little bit later. There's always going to be that, so don't completely get away from that. Now, one thing that Chart was asking, and we'll talk about this in a minute, was, hey, so he was basically soliciting and trying to coerce Solana developers and etc. to essentially jump to the chain to Cardano as a side chain. Now, when you look at a Solana and Cardano, they're built on two different programming languages. One is on Haskell, one's on Rust. I won't get into the details of it, and I don't want to bore you with that. But when you look at it, this was just a quick article on this. Can Haskell programming language outperform? See, this is what Charles Hoskinson says. Now, if you know programming and my background, computer science, C is probably pretty much the iconic programming language that runs most of Web 2. I mean, yes, we've got a lot of other aspects within Web 2 that have started to accelerate, all the way from Ruby on Rails to what we see in Python. Now, don't get too geeky. But this is kind of where the framework of technology is today. C has been the core. His idea was that, and this is one of the reasons that Haskell was selected, but his idea was that Haskell could be the future of this. Now, the problem with Haskell is that you have comparisons between Haskell and Rust that don't necessarily align very well. Now, that means the Solana developers who develop on Rust, which is essentially about 10 times faster, all of this plays into how could you ever even expect Solana to potentially port over to a Cardano platform as a side chain. So I think that, in reality, again, gets back to him, to the theater. That is Charles Hoskinson. And I'm watching these founders right now very closely because when times start getting a little odd, all you have to do is start to study the personalities of these people. And this is any good journalist, any good analyst is going to understand enough about this. And I've been presenting for 20 plus years at conferences, and all that I know how to read an audience and how to read people. And when you see more and more of this type of material that's coming out, I'll show you some of the tweets and some of the videos that Charles has been producing. It starts to make you wonder what and why is Cardano so thirsty for, whether it's partnerships or attention. I just don't understand that. Why not just put your head down and build on really high quality projects? That's really the question. So I thought, well, let's take a look at who the high quality projects are. So let's go over here to tweet. This came in from IOHey. And I'm going to play this for you guys and let you listen in on some of the projects here. All right, so these are projects showcasing over the Cardano event. I'm Spock. I'm the community manager for MidSwap currently, the largest AMDEX on Cardano. What we're trying to do is basically try to unlock liquidity for others to be able to participate in the DeFi ecosystem. What we're bringing to the Cardano ecosystem is the very first stable coin that I think ecosystem mostly were bootstrapped from the ground up, self-funded. And so we're bringing kind of this fair launch concept to the ecosystem, something that we really value. If you don't know 8,000 open source community, we develop open source resources for Cardano. We host a few live dApps. So if you're a project, you need smart contracts, you need multi-sig wallets, really anything. Adele can provide a decent kick out there, basically. The point I'm making is that most of these projects I've never heard of them. I mean, other than, when Cardano promotes them. And this is the scenario. And first of all, I mean, these bootstrap, stable coins. I mean, this is not something that, yeah, sure. Starkle bootstrapped, I guess, to a certain extent, but this is not necessarily, I think, future tech coming out. Most of these kinds of projects. I'm not going, hard on some of these projects. Maybe some of these make it through. The likelihood is many of these will die on the vine in the bull or in the bear cycle. And that, in my opinion, is one of the biggest problems with Cardano is that they haven't been able to penetrate some of the more interesting projects that have been able to go into metaverse and of teas, gaming, all those kind of scenarios. But in addition, even some of the DeFi projects to be able to really advance of some of the DeFi services and become a breakout project dApps that really do interesting things. When we did a full rundown on Breakpoint, which was the Solana conference a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks back prior to FTXE, a few weeks back pre, and I guess it was in October. My point on that was that Solana has technology and a lot of the partners that they were building on. These were innovative and very interesting projects that had real use case utility and could be utilized almost immediately. So interesting stuff, though. I'm not really a big fan of Georgian wines, which is where this particular vineyard is. No buy. I love to get them on the show just to wonder why they selected Cardano as their chain of sourcing and using it in that kind of application. I mean, this is another example, a very small micron use case that I think just is almost irrelevant in being able to kind of scale to the next level. Now, if this was, I don't know, one of the top 10 wine producers, Rombauer Vineyards, has anybody that would really kind of advance us forward. Now you get enough real use case in what could be a burgeoning wine or beverage industry. Sure, there's a lot of opportunity for blockchain, especially around the, just the sourcing aspect of it, because this is something we talked about with like Starbucks and the idea of sourcing beans. There's some use case for all that. And I feel like some of these chains, maybe they don't understand the connectivity to business just yet because they've been so busy building and doing peer review that they forget that there has to be a use case that starts to roll out into the real market, whether it's Web 2 or Web 3. The other thing I wanted to showcase here was just a quick review of the Cardano Summit. So I'm going to pop this out for you. And I want you guys to see this. And one of the things that I noticed was that there wasn't a lot of people there. So now I don't know, this was in Switzerland, so maybe they didn't have a ton of access to audience. But this to me just feels like this, again, definitely not a break point. So not a Solana event. And granted, I'm not a big fan of Solana either, guys. I argue that the tokenomics don't work there. I argue that there's a lot of problems with how the infrastructure investment has been done with Solana, and now you have the added pain and pressure from FTX and their involvement with Solana that has caused a tremendous amount of impact. But what I can't argue on Solana is the innovation that has happened on Solana. I would say outside Polygon is probably the number 2 token out there. Here's just a quick review. Again, you can kind of see, this is not a full audience's Charles's keynote right there. So sun never sets on Cardano, never has, never will. The bows. Yeah, so not a ton of people there. I'm wondering if we're going to start seeing a lot of fall off here. This is the other aspect of it. I think when you look at, being able to roll out events, to me, this is your chance to, one, grab up new developers. It's your chance to break away from other chains and or other projects that maybe aren't doing events, that you get a chance to really showcase what you've done. And I think it's the chance to also develop your pipeline for partners. And again, whether you look at how Polygon has gone about this, I think the biz dev team for, any of these blockchain events or blockchain projects out there have got to be able to ramp up biz dev to where they can get these Web 2 when through partnerships moving, and Polygon has been killing it. Solana has been killing it in terms of just the dApp integration. And I think that is another big advantage of it. Now, if you look also over at Cardano and their stable coin, remember, they reactivated now the testing of JED, which is the stable coin for Cardano. There was a lot of reasons why it was pulled down, and there was a lot of reasons why it stalled. But the biggest reason, I think, is that I don't know that there's use case for another stable coin when you look at the current stable coin platforms that are out there today, whether it's BI'd or Tether, Circle Packs, etc. I just don't see the use case for it really being needed. So again, back to another project that really just doesn't need to be developed. Why aren't we developing projects that are innovative, that are solving use cases that are real world today, not these futuristic use cases that might happen in 10 years? I think there's things that can be integrated now. I know that Cardano will push back the community. I completely get it, guys. There's a lot of nth day traffic. You got all these things happening with this project or that project. But the reality is that we haven't seen major breakthroughs on any major business brand. Give me a few, just pop them in the comments below. Tell me what brands have integrated on Cardano blockchain and have been able to solve a utility issue in a real-world Web 2 environment, or even an upcoming Web 3 environment that is even just a small market that might grow in the future. The more you can get me there, the more I believe that Cardano can do something long-term. Other thing is that they've continued to add staking. So 20,000 new staking addresses on average monthly for over a year. How is this happening? This seems to me like it just is a situation where it's continuing to build on the Cardano community. And I don't necessarily like projects that get their community to just get deeper and deeper. Really what I think good projects do not continue to try to dive in and rebuild into that community over and over, but instead are expanding the community as a whole. How many new addresses have come into staking on Cardano over the last year, month to month? There's data out there. I'd love to see it. So here's the weekly development report. This is their December 9 update. So core tech improvements, progress made on dApp integrations with Lace, their Actus framework implemented in pure script. I don't know which one that one is first version of Mithril, is one that has some potential cryptographic library published on crates, but an unknown platform project catalyst reflecting 20 on 2022. And looking back into 2020, or looking at 2023, 108 projects. Give me one or two that are skyrockets. Just one or two that are skyrocket utilities out of those 108.7.2 million in native tokens. PUDA scripts are out, which now there's 400 plus scripts out there. And then 1,150 build projects building on Cardano. How many of these 1,151 projects are active today? And how many might be going to zero? Let's take a look. And then total number of transactions, good kudos to them. That's a decent and a respectable number. You know, when it comes to transactions, and that is a thing that does have to happen, then you've got Cardano coming in here with Charles saying, go scripts right there. So just the amount of Cardano smart contracts deployed is increased 300 year to date. And this is a big question, you know, as to where all of this is coming from. And this gets back to my point is I'm curious. Tell me, educate me on how that is happening. I still hold an open invitation to Charles to come on our show. I would love to just get answers on some of these things in terms of validity. And I'm talking about all these different projects that are frivolous. They don't make any sense in the use case scenario. Some of them, yeah, might be doing something in, you know, some other country that could be but that many projects are already doing those kinds of things. So that to me is a scenario that really has to play out. There may be 24. And Ethereum has a MOVE of 3. This shows that Cardano's networking layer is 8 times more decentralized than the networking layer of Ethereum. This is, again, getting into not necessarily full truth, you know, how this plays out. If you see the biggest staking group obvious with Cardano is single pool operators. And then Binance comes in at number 2, Lido coming in at number 1, obviously there. And then if there again, this just doesn't really play out in the sense of how this showcases where staking is occurring. These are 2 different projects, even though I understand they compare. Similarly, these don't even compare in terms of scale, capability, utility use case, and transactions in comparison, so it dwarfs into comparison what's happening on Ethereum. The other thing they hit on, this is also IO, HA, and Charles at this point, not listing. This is where it gets a little bit too thirsty, in my opinion. Not listing a DA is pretty tightly correlated with bankruptcy and risky behavior. Makes you think, and this is essentially talking about what's happening over on Gemini. So why would you say these things? Why go out there and throw a project or an exchange under the bus like that when there's no indicator, you know, that really kind of says that they're going to file bankruptcy just yet? Now, there could be problems in Gemini, absolutely, but this only, I think, adds to the problems of what Gemini is going to be facing. Then you get him coming in with this little tweet going, right, as Solana. This is, I understand the fun and the, you know, kind of the noir behind this. There just is kind of a dark sense. But, you know, trying to bring Solana as a side chain, that's just, I just don't see that even being a possibility. Why would you put this out? This only continues to create that comment that competition between and fuels the community hatred for other chains, which is one of the big things that does continue to be a problem. Now remember, I've bought and sold Cardano many times, but to me, that is exactly what it is. It's a trading token where you're looking at chart analysis and potential fundamentals that could and might give you some opportunity to get some profits. And you could also lose very easily on Cardano as well. Many people I know bought at Cardinal's high $3. Well, that's worth 30 cents today. So it's a big difference. And then you got, again, IOHE going back in. Now he's going at the NFT market. Sounds like some FTs need to migrate to another platform. So this, of course, is talking about, you know, the whole issue with FDXEs, all that kind of stuff. Not going to happen. Again, these are Ethereum-based. These are normal scenarios that we're going to see the biggest FD use cases around Ethereum, Polygon, even Solana to that extent. So I know that there are NFTs on ADA. You don't have to tell me that. This was an interesting video. I won't play it. But it just was an interesting video to Elon, you know, right there. I'm going to zoom up on that video to Elon, how to build decentralized Twitter using Doge and Cardano for profit and pleasure. Again, not something that I think is going to take place.